start another marathon training cycle. Only a couple of weeks away. Mine's due to start at the end of May. And during that time I'll be putting up videos every week documenting how my training's going and just highlighting various things in my training plan, what I'm trying to do, what I'm trying to achieve with specific workouts. If you're running a marathon for the first time, or just a few things just to think about before you start. First one is why. Why are you doing this? If it's your first time, your second time, what's your motivation? Because this needs to be pretty strong, especially the first few times you do this. You really need to have your reason for doing it really locked in. There's a lot of times when you'll be out there doing your long runs, things like that, where it will get tough and you just need something to focus your mind at that point and sort of say to yourself, yes, acknowledge what you're doing, acknowledge that it's hard, but understand why you're doing it. So if you're doing it for a charity, for example, maybe you started running in lockdown and this is your first attempt at a marathon. Are you doing it for the experience, the life experience? It's something that, especially when you've never done it before, you'll find out a lot about yourself during this cycle. Depending on which plan you choose, it could be 12, 14, 16, 18, 20 weeks, which is a long time. The next thing you need to do is pick a plan. Now that might sound obvious advice, but I didn't pick a plan. I've just been looking actually at my first marathon training cycle, and at some point I will go through each individual marathon training cycle and event just to give you an idea of how I did and what I was thinking about and that type of thing. You definitely need a plan. It's not actually that straightforward. Again, I've just been looking online. There are hundreds of different plans online now. Make sure you pick one that's manageable. Yes, you'll be stretched. There are points when it's going to be tough and it's going to be hard, when you're going to be putting in big mileage weeks, doing hard tempo runs. That's a given. You should understand that before you start. But don't say you're running 2 or 3 times a week now. Don't go for one where there's a big jump in mileage and you're running 5 or 6 times a week, because at some point you're putting yourself under a huge amount of strain there and pressure. Most injuries, 90% of injuries, come from overuse, and often happens when you have a jump in mileage or a jump in intensity, which the marathon training cycle generally does both. So really make sure that what you're picking, yes, it's a stretch, but it's manageable. Most of the big marathons, Boston, London Marathon, have decent training plans. Nike's one is pretty good as well, Nike Running Club, and you also get guided workouts if you use their app, so you can just run with your headphones and it tells you the process as you're running, which is pretty interesting. So just make sure you pick one that's right for you. The most important thing about a training plan is getting to the start line in good shape, not without carrying any injuries. I remember certainly the second time I was this is the training plan, I'm doing it, I'm doing what's on the sheet, and it did serve me well. But at the same time, life sometimes brings up obviously surprises and pandemics and things, so you have to be flexible as well and think, okay, if I can't get the run in today for whatever reason, don't start panicking and freaking. Okay, well, this is not going to work, this is going to impact on my training. It won't really. The most important run of the week is the long run. That's the one that gets you your body and your mind tuned into those marathon efforts, and again, that will build up. With about 4 or 5 weeks to go, you'll be doing your longest training runs, and then you hit the taper phase. I will go through these because there are definite phases of the marathon cycle. You have the building phase, and then you have the real long mileage stuff, which your big weeks, your big miles, and then towards the end you will taper off so that you are in really good nick for the marathon. Always listen to your body. And again, this might sound in the cold light of day, and I've done this myself too. It's like, yeah, I will. But there's, especially when you're out there and you think, and there's a niggle, and I had a bad hip injury a few years ago, and I actually had to defer from London the first time I got in, simply, and I ran for at least a month just trying to, it'll be okay, and then it was not okay. It went boom. You'll be amazed that just taking a couple of days off and just not thinking about it for a couple of days will just give you that break you need, and then go back and see, and if it responds well, then you can just pick up again and you're really not going to lose any fitness. When you're doing this thing for the first and second times, you can get very much like a laser focus on it. I must be doing all these exercises, I must be doing all these runs. And it's nice just to have, especially on your rest day, make sure you put some rest days in. I mean, there are certain marathon schedules that just don't have any rest days, which is, for an amateur, is quite bananas. Definitely have rest days, and just don't think about running on those rest days. Just do something else completely. Even if it's, I mean, obviously active recovery is great. You can just go out for a nice walk. Don't be tempted to think, oh, I'll just have a little trot today. Really, really let your body, you're going to put your body through a great amount of stress. Really let it recover from what you're doing. So those 3 things are some nice things to focus on. What you're doing it for, pick your plan, stick to your plan, but be flexible with it, be open-minded with it, and always listen to your body.